When it comes to exploring franchise brands, it's important to start with a broad view to understand the scope of what's available. The franchise industry is vast. There's opportunities in almost every sector, from crime scene cleanup to Pizza Hut. Um, there's food and retail, fitness, home services. And with that many options, I think it's crucial to take a step back and look at the big picture first. This approach allows you to see what kind of businesses might fit your interests, your skills, and your financial situation. So, franchising is a very powerful business model and it's helped many entrepreneurs succeed. However, not all franchises are created equal. So, some are well established, they have a strong brand recognition. Others are newer and maybe niche or in a different industry, or a different kind of opportunity, a new industry perhaps. So casting a wide net in the beginning will help you compare and contrast not only the different brands, but the different opportunities within the industry that how and truly how they align with your goals. So this is important if you're new to the franchise world, and I want you to make a well-informed decision. I think part of my reputation in this industry is that I work with educated buyers, and part of that education starts now when you first start looking at brands. So, your experience in your industry is obviously a valuable asset to the process. But over the years, my experience in the franchise world can also serve you as a very valuable asset. Think about the fact that you really don't know what you don't know, right? So, it's a matter of relying on my background and history to help align your background in history with brands to explore. So, this part of the process is crucial. Some people kind of run full stride at some of the first brands that we talk about, and I would actually encourage you to not do that. In fact, more often than not, I've heard, wow, at least none of these really wowed me. And that's okay, because I think it's time to take off the passion hat for a while and put on the business hat as you start to think about not necessarily what the widget is for these brands, but what business ownership looks like in these industries. So once you have a broad understanding of the landscape, it'll be easier to narrow your options. So this is where we're going to start to focus more on the specifics and looking at the details of each brand and why they caught your interest. So at first, the initial factors are going to be the investment, the level of support by the franchisor, the market presence. Of course, your market, your geography is going to come into play here, but also how that business aligns with your personal goals and with the decision to choose this next chapter in your life, which is business ownership. So at first, the conversations are going to be very high level, kind of think 30,000 foot view. And then as you start to talk with the industry experts and the brand experts, you're going to learn more specifics, which are going to help educate you on truly what the business model is and also, of course, that industry. So the discussions early on with the brands are actually part of your education process, and they're a very important step into the success of this venture and the time that you've invested to this point. So leveraging your knowledge and leveraging my knowledge will help us make sure that we can dig deeper into the brands that do make the most sense for you, and also make sure that you're asking the right questions. The most important part of this is alignment. We want to make sure that your goals align with the brands and the industry even that you're looking at. This ensures that not only we're going to have a successful experience short term in finding you a business, But this education and alignment is more important and proves to the success or leads to the success that you're going to stay in business and be successful. So in the beginning, we're going to paint, like I said, a very wide canvas. So that initial exploration may feel a little convoluted. There's going to be some brands that you've heard of. There's going to be plenty of brands that you've never heard of, industries that you didn't even think were right for franchising, and then other industries that, although they've been franchising for a while, perhaps their tech stack is what differentiates them in getting a new customer now. That will help you gain a clearer picture of what you're looking for if you lean in to the tech stack, or if possibly you just don't want to be part of an industry that's me too, no matter how strong the support is. It's going to also lead us to a short list that's truly your short list. What happens with this exploration is we get to know each other. We have this very wide kind of canvas. It's going to narrow a little bit, and then it's going to get wider again. We're going to stop comparing apples and oranges and bananas and grapes. And we're going to start saying, okay, let's compare apples to apples as we get closer to an understanding of what makes the most sense for you and your family and this decision based on your goals now that you are a little bit more educated. So the process of exploring brands can be overwhelming. And this is why we break it down into stages to make it more manageable. So start with a very broad review, and then we're going to gradually narrow our focus. It's going to be very methodical how we narrow this down. And it's very much me listening to what your feedback is, what you're hearing versus what has been presented is part of this. How you process information, believe it or not, is part of this fact-finding mission to figure out which brands truly you can be successful with long-term. So I'm always keeping your long-term goals in mind, but I'm also very aware of the fact that this commitment is not just to the process of finding a brand. This commitment is of your time and of your money and your future. And so it's really important that we dig deeper and deeper as we go forward. But at first, we don't want to, as my grandma would say, throw the baby out with the bathwater and possibly eliminate something based on something that we think and not something that we have proven and been educated on, if that makes sense. You're looking usually at a business for financial growth. Sometimes it's control over your lifestyle, control over your time. Sometimes it's, diversification of your income, increase immediate cash flow. Everybody's goals are different. It's not always just, I want to make a bunch of money, believe it or not. So tying in that part of the goal outside of the money part becomes very, very important as we're exploring all of these brands together. Remember that the journey doesn't end with just choosing a brand. Once you've made your decision, that's truly when the work starts. And so we want to know that your horizon with that brand is going to be successful based on not only what you wanted in the beginning, but what you learned along the way. So please understand that at first we are going to look at quite a few different brands. We're going to narrow, and then we're going to expand again into different industries. Your feedback and our communication through this process is generally what ends up bringing us to success. Even if it's feedback of, I thought I was going to like it, I thought that was going to be the industry for me, but truly it's not. And I think, a lot of times that can come into play when I'm working with people that really want to be, I'll use senior care as an example. People are drawn to the senior care market. And a lot of that is, definitely the silver tsunami. We know that there's going to be a market, there's going to be customers, there's truly a community impact and need in that space. And people will think they're going to get to work with a lot of seniors, and maybe they like that population. And I think it's important to keep in mind in that when we're using that scenario in that industry, some of your interactions, yes, will be with seniors, but most of those interactions with the seniors are going to be your employees and your labor force. You're going to be working on your business, not necessarily in your business. A lot of senior care companies, if you think of them, they're big staffing companies. They're staffing for 30, 40, 50, 100, if they're lucky, seniors in their market. And so their time is more spent staffing into their business and not necessarily interacting one-on-one with the senior. And so that's where the feedback becomes helpful, because I want you to know early on what that business and what that industry truly involves from an ownership perspective, not just from an income perspective. So careful preparation in the beginning generally will pay off moving forward, and it might open up your eyes to opportunities that you never even knew existed. And so just kind of keep that in mind, that when we get started, it does feel a little bit more like we're checking boxes all over the place, and possibly we're showing you things that you maybe had absolutely no interest in. But give it a chance, learn about what we're talking about, learn about that industry and what the ownership perspective looks like. And I think it'll become more clear if it does make sense to be open-minded and explore it.